Hey, everybody. I just thought I would jump on here live. I did not set this as a scheduled live. I just thought I would jump on. And Kouri Richins' case is coming up, and I want us to review just some of the highlights about that. She is on trial for unaliving her ex husband to be with an overdose of fentanyl, plus a plethora of other charges, financial crimes. But I thought we could just kind of look at her timeline and the warrants. And hello, Deidre. Happy you're here. So I just thought we'll jump into this. I'm just going to be on just for a little bit before my husband and I have dinner. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And hope you all have a great day. Hallmark holiday, if you will. But whether you're here on replay or live, happy Saturday and happy Valentine's Day. So some of you may or may not be familiar with the Kouri Richins case out of Utah, but we're just going to do a quick little overview of the timeline and how we get to where we are. This is going to be an interesting case. I will tell you that. It's going to be a good one. But I'm Leslie B., and this is True Crime in a Minute. So Kouri Richins. So February 4th in 2022, her husband or ex-husband to be, Eric Richins, he had a life insurance policy that went into effect. And prosecutors are saying Kouri signed an application for the policy in January. So then February 11th, 2022, they claim that Kouri Richins obtained fentanyl for the first time. I believe she was direct messaging people on Facebook. And, Deidre, you remember Savannah and Hoda interviewed her for a book? Right. So after her husband died, she wrote a book about grieving children. So interesting. February 26, prosecutors are claiming Kouri Richins obtained fentanyl a second time. She allegedly said in a text message she needed something stronger. March 4th, 2022. So gosh, almost 4 years ago. Kouri calls police early in the morning to report her husband, Eric, is cold to the touch. He has died unexpectedly at their home. March 9th, 2022, prosecutors claim Kouri Richins obtained fentanyl a third time. So he passed away March 4th, but then March 9th, they're claiming that. Hey, everybody. Hey, Take It to Trial. Elizabeth, John Smith. Good to see y'all. June 9th, 2022, Kouri Richins is charged with assault, a Class B misdemeanor in connection with an altercation at her home with her sister-in-law, so Eric's sister. March 7th, 2023, Kouri Richins publishes a book titled, Are You With Me? It is a children's book about dealing with grief, featuring her husband and sons. Then May of 2023, Kouri is charged with killing her husband through a fentanyl overdose and is arrested. May 18th, 2023, amended charges accuse Kouri Richins of fraud, claiming she took out a $2 million life insurance policy against her husband without his knowledge. Which I don't really understand that, because when you have a life insurance policy, you have to take a medical exam, especially something that big. I mean, a small policy, maybe not, but definitely a larger one. I mean, that seems a little odd. But let's go look at her arrest warrant. Welcome, everybody coming in. Happy y'all are here. Happy Valentine's Day. Let's share this tab. So this is copy here. Why don't I change this? So I am not so big. There. All right. This is her warrant. So number 1, criminal homicide, aggravated murder in violation of Utah Code, first-degree felony. That on or about March 3rd, 2022, in Summit County, state of Utah, the defendant, Kouri Richins, did intentionally and knowingly cause the death of another individual under any of the following circumstances. The actor committed homicide by means of the administration of a poison or any lethal substance, or any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Furthermore, the defendant was a cohabitant with the victim. So I believe if I remember right, and I'm going to have to brush up on it because this has been going on a while. I mean, now here we are in 2026. She made him a Moscow Mule, which, if you know what that is, it's vodka and ginger beer, which it's not an alcohol beer. It's like a really strong ginger ale and a little bit of lime. They're delicious, but she put fentanyl in it and basically overdosed him. That's what she's allegedly accused of. She had possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute that or on or about January 2022 in Summit County, state of Utah. The defendant did knowingly and intentionally possess with intent to distribute a controlled or counterfeit substance that was classified as a controlled substance, gamma hydroxybutyric acid. All right. 3, possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. 4, possession of a controlled substance that on or about February 26, 2022 in Summit County, state of Utah, the defendant did knowingly and intentionally possess with intent to distribute a controlled or counterfeit substance. All right. On March 4th, 2022 at 3:22 a.m., Summit County Sheriff's deputies and EMS staff responded to a residence located at 282 Willow Court in Summit County on the report of an unresponsive male. When they arrived, they found Eric Richins on the floor at the foot of his bed. Life-saving measures were attempted, but Eric was declared deceased. During interviews with the deceased wife, the defendant, Kouri Richins, she stated that around 21 hours, so that would have been 9 p.m. the evening before, on March 3rd, 2022, she and Eric were celebrating the closing on a house for her business. She was like flipping houses and she was way in over her head financially. Defendant Kouri stated that she made Eric a Moscow Mule in the kitchen and brought it to their bedroom. So that's the drink I just described, where Eric consumed it while sitting in bed. Now, hold on. Does this seem weird to anybody else? Because, like, I don't normally just go sit in bed and have a Moscow Mule. It's very odd. The only people in the house were the defendant, Eric, and their children. Defendant stated she went to bed and shortly after went to sleep with one of the children in the child's bedroom because the child was having a night terror. Defendant said she awoke around 3 a.m. and came back to her in Eric's bedroom. She felt Eric and he was cold to the touch. So I always think this is interesting. It reminds me of like Brian Walsh or that trial we just watched out in Oregon or Washington State. Which one was it? With Kevin West. And they get in bed and they just happen to touch their spouse and they're like, oh, they're cold. I know when I have gone to bed later than my spouse, like I don't get in bed and start checking their temp. So I find that like kind of odd. But hello, everyone. Take it to trial. Elizabeth, John, good to see you. Happy Valentine's Day, Top Cat. Ah, Jamie, I heard your song blasting out of someone's car window the other day. Windy, windy. It made me smile. That's hilarious. Oh, it's your mom's birthday? That's so cool. Valentine's baby. Good to see y'all. Just like Wendy, keeping the kids away from Eric's family. Yep, that's exactly right. I think, though, they have custody now since she's been in jail a while. But I just want to give y'all a brief overview of this because this is going to be a good one to follow. I think there's plenty going on with Nancy Guthrie case. So we're going to just watch something else. All right, defendant said she woke up. Yep. And so her husband, Eric, was cold to the touch. So she called 911. Defendant told law enforcement that when she left her room to go to her child's room, she left her phone plugged in next to her bed and did not take it to her child's room. However, between when the defendant said she went to the child's room and when she called 911, the status on her phone shows that it was locked and unlocked multiple times. Yeah. I got news, people. You can't beat the smartness of an iPhone, right? And there was also movement recorded on the phone. In addition, tolls on defendant's phone show that messages were sent and received during the time. These messages were deleted. I love some cell phone analytics. Following an autopsy and pursuant to toxicology findings from the autopsy, it was determined that Eric died from an overdose of fentanyl. The medical examiner indicated the level of fentanyl in Eric's system was approximately 5 times the lethal dosage. The medical examiner stated the fentanyl in Eric's system was illicit fentanyl and not medical grade fentanyl. It is also the opinion of the medical examiner, after evaluating Eric's gastric fluid contents, that the fentanyl in Eric's body was ingested orally. This is very interesting. Oh, Rabbit, I'm happy that you're here. Read your mind. You were thinking about this case earlier today. Well, the jury's been seated, and I believe opening arguments start February 23rd. So she has a lot of charges. I mean, this is the murder trial, but then the financial charges, it's going to be insane. Let's see. Armand, hey there. You said somehow she reminds you of Sarah Boone, self-centered and zero empathy. Yeah, like she's been giggling in court in the hearings, and it's very interesting. Yeah, the phones, they get you every time. All right. So, after receiving the information regarding the toxicology, a search warrant was obtained for Eric and the defendant's residence. During the service of that warrant, defendant's phone and several computers were seized as evidence. Warrants were obtained for all the electronic devices, and the information from those devices was downloaded. When investigators downloaded defendant's phone, several communications between defendant and CL were located. CL was identified as an acquaintance of defendant Kouri Richins. A police record check of CL revealed multiple counts of possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of drug paraphernalia. On May 2nd, 2023, Summit County detectives interviewed CL. CL told detectives that sometime between December 2021 and February 2022, the defendant contacted CL via text message and asked if CL could get Kouri some prescription pain meds for an investor who had back injury. So, remember, she's got this business where she flips houses, supposedly. Within a few days, CL procured hydrocodone pills from a dealer. Defendant told CL to leave the pills at a house defendant was flipping in Midway. CL left the pills at the house, and defendant left cash for CL. It has been determined that this house was owned by defendant in December 2021 and January 2022. About 2 weeks later, defendant contacted CL again and said that her investor wanted something stronger and for some of the Michael Jackson stuff. That's propofol. The defendant asked specifically for fentanyl. CL contacted a dealer in Ogden, so this is all in Utah, on February 11th, 2022, and procured 15 to 30 fentanyl pills from that dealer. Defendant came to CL's home in Heber, and CL delivered the pills to the defendant. CL received $900 for those pills. 3 days later, on February 14th, 2022, 4 years ago today, Eric and defendant had a Valentine's Day dinner at their Camas home, Camas. Shortly after dinner, Eric became very ill. Eric believed that he had been poisoned. Eric told a friend that he thought his wife was trying to poison him. About 2 weeks later, the defendant contacted CL again, asking for another $900 of fentanyl pills. CL contacted the Ogden dealer again on February 26, 2022, and procured the pills. The defendant told CL to leave the pills at the outdoor fire pit of the Midway house, where there was cash waiting for her. 6 days later, on March 4th, 2022, Eric was found dead of a fentanyl overdose. All right. So that is what she's being charged with. So she was charged May of 2023, and he died in March of 2022. So she was out 14 months, free as a bird. Not 14 years, like some cases. Not quite 14, but it feels like it with Wendy. All right. Judge Mrazek denies a request in June of 2023 for bail. I mean, she was a hot mess crying in court, saying she will stay in jail as the charges move through court. September 2023, prosecutors claim a letter found in Richins' jail cell titled Walk the Dog outlines false testimony for her mother and brother. So I have read that on a previous live, and I can do that again. I'm just not going to tonight. But essentially, she calls it Walk the Dog, but she was doing like video calls with her mom and kind of holding it up, like so her mom could read it, thinking, oh, well, they're listening to the calls, but they're not watching. Well, they saw it and they found it in her jail. I think it was like in her cell, under her mattress. But she was trying to basically inform them what their testimony and story would be. November 2023, the judge Mrazek denies the motion to dismiss Kouri Richins' charges based on allegations that prosecutors breached professional conduct rules in publishing the Walk the Dog letter. He also denied a motion from prosecutors to restrict Richins' contact with her family and a motion from Richins to remove the Summit County prosecutors from the case. January 4th, 2024, court documents reveal that Eric Richins' autopsy found medication prescribed to Kouri Richins in addition to fentanyl. Wow. Yeah, the Walk the Dog letter is good. I don't remember which live that was on, but I promise we'll do another live and say that. Hey, Rosie, hope you're doing okay. I know you're in Phoenix, so you're near all this crazy stuff going on in Tucson. But appreciate y'all coming in. Happy Valentine's Day. March 2024, Richins is charged with attempting murder on her husband for the Valentine's Day prior to his death. May 2024, she's found guilty in the assault case after not following plea in abeyance conditions. I don't really know what that's about. May 2024, a newly unsealed search warrant reveals Kouri Richins' mother had a romantic partner who also died of a suspicious overdose in 2006. I believe her mom has a female partner, and that woman is believed to have died possibly from this fentanyl overdose in 2006. May 2024, the judge allows Richins' previous attorney, Sky, to withdraw after her firm reported an ethical issue in representing her. This led to a delayed preliminary hearing in her case. Yeah, she mentioned Sky in her Walk the Dog letter because I think Sky was like helping get things to her. May 2024, Kouri proclaims her innocence in voice recordings sent to national media before new attorneys, Catherine Nestor, Wendy Lewis, and Alexander Ramos, are appointed to represent her. So then August 2024, she's ordered to stand trial. November 24, the judge grants requests that Kouri will be tried on mortgage fraud charges in addition to the murder charges. Denies bail again. January 25, officers testify about their investigation into Eric Richins' death as Richins' attorney contests which evidence can be brought into trial. March 2025, Richins' attorneys request her trial be moved to Salt Lake County, which is, I think, one county over from Summit, which I don't really know why that's going to make a big deal. The judge in April of 25 granted a delay in the trial and denied the request to move it to Salt Lake County. June 25, Utah Supreme Court declines to consider the appeal. June 25, a new jury trial date is set for February, March of 2026. So here we are. She got more mortgage fraud charges. October 25, they removed charges for drug distribution in Kouri Richins' case. Earlier this month, so February 2nd, judge denied a second request to move it to Salt Lake County. And jury selection began February 10th, and her trial is set to start February 23rd. So we are close. So I'm going to share this.
For her murder case.
She is the Camas woman accused of poisoning her husband with fentanyl-laced cocktail, then writing a children's book about grief. Richins has pleaded not guilty in the case. There are 8 primary jurors, 4 alternates. When the 6-week trial ends, they will decide her fate.
We have team coverage for you tonight. Brian Schnee and Liv Kelleher are both following the story for us. And Brian, lawyers and the judge selected the jurors pretty quickly.
They did. They moved really fast through this process.
Which is interesting that they were able to get a jury in like 2 days, because they've been acting like they needed to move this trial and there's no way to get a fair jury. I rarely watch the local news. I'm on YouTube, so this doesn't shock me that people may not have known a lot about it.
Process, but then again, it all depends on who you're getting in that jury pool. And much to the thanks of a 23-page long questionnaire, they had a pretty good idea of who they were looking for. And it just seemed to work out that the first 2 waves of jurors just on the first day were enough to pick from. And then today, they were able to narrow down that number from 24 to 12. They were able to cut it in half without much deliberation, by the way. The only moment was when the defense actually questioned one of the strikes of one of the jurors from the prosecution. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can see that thread on my X page right now. All of this wrapped up early, by the way, 11 o'clock. Tomorrow, not much happening other than maybe both sides doing their homework, submitting more motions and paperwork. But then on Friday, they're actually back here in this courtroom at 1 o'clock with another motion that was put forth by the state involving some of the expert testimony that the defense will want to call. And they're going to discuss that. Kouri Richins will be back in the courtroom here 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. Keep in mind, the trial doesn't get going until the 23rd. So we have our jury. And now we need to talk about Liv Kelleher, who will be with us covering this throughout the course of at least perhaps 5 weeks. Big concern when you have so many eyes on a situation like this is always safety. They have a great plan already laid out here that covers parking, that covers all of these things here at the courthouse. But safety is top of mind. What did you learn today?
Yeah, that's right, Brian. I spoke with Chris Palmer. He is the head of court security here. He says they are expecting a crowd. There's different reasons why someone will attend a high-profile trial. Of course, there's the media. He says they've gotten both national and international press inquiries. There's community members who have a vested interest or stakes in the outcome of this trial. And he said there's a third group that's perhaps most concerning. And those are the people who are the so-called looky-loos, who may be coming here to be disruptive or seek attention. After 3 years of anticipation and national attention, the court says keeping this trial safe and fair is now their top priority.
So we want to have as little disruption as possible to the staff, to the jury, to the participants involved in the trial, the defense, and the state.
He says high-profile cases bring a unique set of challenges.
We still have a fraction of people who want to come to one of these high-profile events because they know there are going to be a lot of cameras and people watching to do this.
The judge will publish a decorum order laying out the rules for the trial, including how many viewers each side can bring, what items are allowed in the courtroom, rules on electronics, and possible restrictions on media access.
There will be no warnings. If anybody violates any of those orders, we will permanently remove them from the court for the duration of this trial.
Palmer says a key focus is protecting jurors and witnesses from outside pressure or interference.
So we want to make sure that we're monitoring any inappropriate communications, any attempts to influence a jury, have contact with, so that way we're not causing, in a worst case scenario, some kind of security incident, or maybe a mistrial.
Jury consultant Melinda Ruth says these proceedings can take a toll on jurors.
They understand that these decisions being made impact real human beings on a visceral level.
Jurors asked to do a very, very hard thing, and that is to weigh all the facts and listen to the rules of the judge.
Keeping them safe, he says, is central to the integrity of the trial.
And if there's any kind of inappropriate communication or attempts to contact a juror, our bailiffs will know about it, and they'll forward that to the investigative side of the Summit County Sheriff's Department.
Now, Palmer says they are taking lessons from another high-profile case that happened here 2 years ago. That was the Gwyneth Paltrow civil case. He says he's using that to plan for the scope and media attention they are expecting. He says they don't quite know how many additional officers will be here for the duration of the trial, but it will, quote, be more than they need. Brian?
Well, there are 10 media seats each day, and then additional media members can be with general public, which the general public can also.
Wow, 10 media seats. And I think they can put YouTubers in that's not many. Top Cat, you said most jury selections only take 2 to 3 days. Right. But like Kouri's been acting like, that's why they started it so long ago, but the trial's not February 23rd. They got one a lot faster than they thought they would. Yeah, John Smith, if she's found not guilty, it will be a fair jury. But when they are convicted, the jury is always unfair. Isn't that the truth? Yes, correct, Rosie. The trial starts February 23rd. So that's a week from Monday. So Monday the 16th, I think it's President's Day, right? So yeah, just a little bit more till Kouri. Yeah, Top Cat, I don't see her having a fan club either. And Karen, isn't this so true? Again, innocent children broken. It is. Very, very true. Yeah, John and Rosie are talking about last night. JLR had over 85,000 watching. I couldn't even deal with all that. I was exhausted from my week. I fell asleep. And then I thought, well, I woke up this morning. I thought, oh, I wonder what happened. And then I was like, nobody was arrested. I thought, yep, that's why I'm not doing that case with Nancy anymore. All right.
Attend this. There are also limited seats, and there is definitely limited parking here at the courthouse. Again, there shouldn't be much happening next week. However, the way this case has gone, there could be more motions filed, more discussions. Again, Kouri Richins will be back here with her attorneys and the prosecution again in front of the judge on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And then next week should be open, but that could always be on the table. The trial gets underway the 23rd, bright and early, 8:30 a.m. Back inside to you.
All right, Brian Schnee reporting live for us tonight. We have been covering this case since May of 2023. That's when police arrested Richins and charged her with murder. Just a few weeks later in June, that's when they denied her bail. There have been a lot of appeals along the way. Jury selection, trial location have all been issues where they were trying to move it out of Summit County down to Salt Lake County. The Supreme Court ruling last summer said that it would indeed stay in Summit County where it's being held right now. And again, that jury was selected officially today. Next week, that trial will get underway.
Let's see. Rabbit. I've been hoping and assuming that this entire trial is televised. Does anyone know if that's true? I believe it will be. I was hearing that the judge might delay it where maybe they wouldn't allow it, the streaming of it. They would do it like on a delay, similar to that Kevin West trial where Court TV and Law and Crime could post it after the day was over. Sounds like he's going to run a tight ship. I don't totally know. Maybe I've got another news report. Maybe it will say, yes, Kouri is in Utah. Hey, Patricia Burns. Hey, Jane for Justice. Top Cat. Yeah, I think it is televised, Rabbit. He's pretty strict, but Patricia, your daughter got engaged. Congratulations. Happy Valentine's Day to her. Yeah. Patricia, we need a limerick for Kouri Richins. Was your daughter surprised when she got engaged, or did she know it was coming? All right. Now I think there's another little news update. This was just from a couple days ago in Kouri Richins, so I'm going to show this too.
The judge inside a courtroom is deciding who will serve on the jury in the Kouri Richins case. Richins is the Camas mother charged with the 2022 murder of her husband, Eric.
News special Shelby Lofton covering this case for us tonight. Shelby, there was recent debate over where this trial should actually take place, correct?
Mike and Debbie, that's right. Right now, the trial and all of the jury selection is underway here in Summit County, and the judge decided it will stay here. That's where Kouri lives. her family. It's also where Eric died. But Kouri's team has argued that it's a small town, people talk, and this is a high-profile case. And they believe she wouldn't have a fair trial here, but the judge disagreed, so the jurors will be from Summit County. Richins is on trial for aggravated murder, attempted murder, insurance fraud, and forgery, and she has pleaded guilty. Now, to backtrack, her husband, Eric Richins, died in March 2022 from an overdose of illicit fentanyl. Charges state Kouri put fentanyl in his food a month before he died. That's the attempted murder charge. He was sick after that, but recovered. She's also accused of giving him a fatal dose that March. Eric's family claims she had a financial motive to murder her husband, and they allege Kouri had financial problems and was taking money from him. She was arrested until May 2023 after a lengthy investigation. Before her arrest, Kouri wrote a children's book about grief. She did media interviews to promote it. And this timeline just scratches the surface. We have detailed reporting on this on KSL.com. Now, opening arguments will start in about 2 weeks. They're expected to start February 23rd and go through March 26th. I will be here and will be providing updates out of the courtroom for you. For Life at 5, I'm Shelby Lofton.
I'm going to see if I can find her interview. And I was going to show y'all. Oh, yeah, here it is. Hold on. Well, this was before. Let me see if I can find another one. She's a real piece of work. Kouri Richins' children's book. Oh, yeah, here it is. All right.
Or friend, talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject. Joining us now is author of Are You With Me?
I mean, she got dressed up. She looks like she's wearing jeans and a, I don't know, like a bomber jacket. What is that?
Kouri Richins to share her 3 C's to helping kids cope with grief. And Kouri, I want to start with your story. What happened in your personal life?
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So
Oh my God. That is so like windy-ish, like the way she just said that.
it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And you know, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year, and you know, hoping that it can kind of help other kids, you know, deal with this and kind of, you know, find happiness some way or another.
And to make sense and process, I'm sure. And I'm sure you felt that going through and trying to explain it and articulate it for you and your boys.
Yes, exactly. And so I've done, you know, I'm new to all of this, so kind of doing all, you know, research and reading books and things to try and understand, you know, not only how to grieve as a widow, as a wife, but also, you know, with my kids, how to help them understand what just happened. And what I have kind of found.
God, she's talking just so like, I don't know, like comfortably, you know. Karen, that is right. The drug dealer that provided her the illicit fentanyl, he backed away from saying he sold her the fentanyl because he didn't want to be charged with his death. You're correct. Yeah.
Is, as I mentioned, it's kind of the 3 C's is how I visualize it. And it's, you know, connection, continuity, and care. And it's, you know, making sure connection is.
I'm sorry, but what is up with this lady on the left? She looks like this outfit. And she's got, I don't know. That's somebody that's one of those ladies that's older but still thinks they're 20 something. Kind of looks like an outfit you would see on Scooby-Doo or something.
the major one, and making sure that their spirit is always alive in your home, and memories are always brought up, and doing things that your loved ones love to do, whether it's riding bikes or their favorite dinner, and just constantly, talking about them. And
Yeah, and if you're listening, you need to watch this and look at her hair. She's got it parted like almost, over to her ear. What is up with these women with the bad hair? What starts happening? All right, Patricia's got to start to her limerick. There once was a woman called Kouri who wanted a mansion as part of her story. Yes, you got to get Moscow Mule in there too.
And Kouri, do you mention at dinner, here's dad, or dad would like this meal, or dad would, let's bring dad on a bike ride?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, explaining to my kid, just because he's not present here with us physically, that doesn't mean his presence isn't here with us, and he's doing these things with us, and he's, here for birthdays, and he's here for Christmas, and, and it's just comforting to
we should put her in a jail cell with Wendy. They could braid each other's hair and fight over their books and which one's better.
for them to know that they're not living this life alone. Like dad is still here, it's just in a different way, a different version.
Well, I opened up your book, and one of the first pages I saw is a little boy. It looks like he's standing in a hallway at school, and he's saying, "Are you still here?"
Yes. Yeah. And it's, and that was like the first day of school, and, all the nerves that kids face on the first day of school with new, and just hoping, dad, walk with me, help me get through today.
I need to go back and count how many times she says and Karen, I like your start. There once was a girl called Kouri who, like Wendy, was kind of hoary. That's really good. Excellent.
Give me the strength to do that. And it has found, it's been a lot of.
Yeah, John, wasn't it revealed that she didn't even write that book? I think that's right. I think she had a ghostwriter, if I recall. I think. Hey, just Susie. Happy everybody's here. This is not going to be long. I've got to, I'm going to spend the evening with my husband. Valentine's Day.
Peace for my kids to, to really remember that in the back of their head, that they're never alone,
So you actually wrote this book with your children.
I did.
And it's only been a year. How did you process and say you go from processing death to I need to write a book and help others?
I just watched the struggle that my kids were going through. And I actually, I went on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and trying to find something that we could use to cope at nights. Nights are the hardest, it seems like, for everybody when, dealing with.
I think she could be best friends with Wendy. Rabbit, I like yours. Here we go. There once was a woman named Kouri who wrote a walk the dog story. She tried to deny it. The jury didn't buy it. She now lives her life without glory. Excellent. Got some talented writers in this group.
With anything, but I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night, and I just could not find anything. I couldn't find anything that really, suited them or helped them find comfort and peace. And so, I was like, let's just write one. And so, I took things that my kids have said to me this last year, and we kind of articulated it and put it into a story, and, just have hopes that it will help other kids.
Grief is not linear, and this sounds like it's a touchstone when you need it to come back to for you and your boys. So the first one you had mentioned was connection of the 3 C's, keeping the person's spirit alive. The second, continuity.
Yes, and that's, just making sure.
Connection and continuity. Wow, Kouri. Keller, I like it. Kouri, what's the truth? Maybe I should try an AI song for Kouri. Gonna work on that, but John Smith will probably beat me to it. Yes, exactly, Tracy. She gaslighted their children. Oh, you love my hair? Thank you. It's grown out. It's a little too blonde though. I gotta get some low lights. It's looking. Everything about her is phony. Oh yeah, Rosie. In that walk the dog letter, she wanted her attorney to sneak in some Crest whitening strips because all the coffee and tea in jail was yellowing her teeth.
You're trying to stay, as much as you can on routine, and, whether that's, sports or pick up and drop off from school, or, community activities, just, trying to stay in a routine as much as possible.
And then the last C is care.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So, on top of just loving your kids and hugging them and kissing them and, extra cuddles and everything, I think it's important that I've learned to really affirm, their feelings. When they're mad or they're sad, it's just that affirmation of, I understand like that you are upset, because of this, like, let's talk about it, and so I think really it's not, it's the emotional and physical touch of it, but really letting your kids understand that why they're feeling the way that they are feeling, and it's okay, and let's deal with it and talk about it.
There's a promotion right now. Get a free copy of the book April 30th and May 1st through Amazon Kindle. You are an amazing woman and mom, and we thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this and touching the lives of others.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. So,
thank you, Kouri.
Guys.
Thank you.
God, can you imagine if you had done that interview? Like, oof. So I just looked, and it looks like their dad's family has custody. Of course, she kept trying to get pretrial release. But in this article from I guess, what was the date of this? 24, over a year ago. It says her, Eric's family has custody of the kids. Very interesting. Hey, good to see you, Murder by Maestro. John, Kouri was such a damn fool. She put fentanyl in his Moscow Mule. Now she's about to go down. She'll trade prison chains for her crown. No more messing around, Kouri. You're going to go down. I like it. Y'all are awesome. Yeah, Deidre, you felt bad for her? Ugh, I know. Do you live in Utah? Top Cat, she is nauseating. You know. Yes, we all fucking know. Yeah, what do her kids think of her? At least they're not being estranged from the paternal side, the grandparents. And then the other thing I just wanted to briefly update. I know it was like several weeks ago, we were on a live and I was really confused by something in Donna Adelson's appellate brief or whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute, she has a new attorney, Rachel Reese. So I was wrong. That was when they tried to get our boy, Judge Everett, off the case. And so they used Rachel Reese for that. But she is not the actual one for Donna's ongoing. So this one is closed. Right here, you can see where it says it's closed. But then when I go to her open case in the Court of Appeals, yeah, she's still got Zellman. And she's got Zellman. I mean, why would she stick with that? I think it's interesting. You think she just knows she doesn't have a chance? And then I went ahead and checked while I was in here. I checked Charlie's, and there's nothing new. So I just thought I would show y'all that. So Charlie's is still open. And the last thing was just the notice of oral argument, which we all watched. So no ruling or anything yet with that. I just wanted y'all to know. So that's where we are. But I'm going to get back to the Adelson stuff because I know y'all want to know. Oh, Deidre, she was on the Today Show. Okay. You said, when I first heard the interview on the Today Show, but the is, I believe, why I remember the interview. I bet so. Oh, Jamie. Wow, thanks. I live near Park City. I'm planning to go watch a day or two. I'm so fascinated by the court system. You are going to have to give us the updates. I hope you get in. It sounds like it's going to be kind of limited. Okay, Patricia's got another limerick. There once was a woman called Kouri who wanted a mansion as part of her story. A fear mule she did make for her husband to take. and is not even a little bit sorry. Oh, wait, Fent. What it, oh, a Fent mule. I see what you did there. That's good. Oh, Jordan, that's a good point. So if she sticks with him through appeal, then she wouldn't be able to appeal on ineffective counsel. That's a good question. But Jackie did a lot of the, what's that called? I don't know, work or whatever. Yeah, I know we've all been sidetracked with Nancy. I'm watching some updates. I'm just not covering it. People were like, I like your style, and now you're speculating. And you know what? I thought it was good feedback. As I tell y'all, feedback is a gift. That's what we say at work. Feedback is a gift. So, but I just want to say thanks and happy Valentine's Day. And I'll be going live again later. Jane for Justice are going to give you the final word. Kouri's boys, Markel boys, Brian Boone's boy, Katie's kids, Christine Banfield's daughter. Gotta wonder how they will grow up and how they will be long term. All these children. Excellent point. But thank y'all so much, and be on the lookout for a scheduled live this week. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.